Long ago, high in the mighty Andes Mountains of South America, there was a land where the peaks touched the clouds, where rivers curled like silver snakes, and where the sun seemed closer than anywhere else on earth. This land would one day become home to the great Inca Empire, an empire so vast and so clever that it stretched along the spine of a continent. But tonight, we're not rushing through battles or conquests. Tonight, we walk slowly, step by step, through their history. We will listen as the mountains whisper, as the rivers hum, and as the old stones speak of the people who built wonders, still standing after hundreds of years. So close your eyes, breathe slowly, and let us journey back. Every great people begin with a story. For the Inca, it was a story of the sun. Long ago, the god of the sun, Inti, looked down from the heavens and saw the people on earth living in confusion, without order, without leaders. Inti felt pity for them, so he sent his children, a brother and sister named Manco Capac and Mama Oclo, to bring wisdom. They carried with them a golden staff. The sun god told them, "Wherever this staff sinks easily into the earth, there you must build a city, and from there you will guide my people." So Manco Capac and Mama Oclo wandered through valleys and across hills. The staff struck hard rocks, bounced off frozen earth, and refused to sink. But then, in a green valley, surrounded by mountains, the golden staff slid into the soil and stayed. "This," they said, "will be the heart of our people." And there they founded Cusco, the navel of the world. Whether you believe the story or not doesn't matter tonight. What matters is that Cusco grew from this legend, and from Cusco grew the empire. Cusco began as a small village of stone houses and thatched roofs, but it was placed in a valley like a bowl cradled by the Andes. Rivers gave it water. Terraces carved into the hills gave it food. The early Incas worked hard. They planted potatoes, maize, and quinoa. They raised llamas and alpacas for wool and meat, and slowly their village became a town, and the town became a city. The rulers of Cusco claimed descent from the sun god. That gave them power, but also responsibility. They believed they had to make the land bloom and the people prosper. And so the Incas built temples, most famously the Coricancha, the Temple of the Sun. Its walls were covered in sheets of shining gold, so bright that when the sun rose, the temple glowed like dawn itself. Inside, statues of llamas and corn were also made of pure gold, offered to Inti. At night, people would look at the temple and believe the sun was still with them, even when it had gone to the other side of the earth. The Incas had no iron, no wheels, and no horses, and yet they became some of the greatest builders in human history. Why? Because they listened to the mountains. When the slopes were too steep to farm, they cut them into terraces, giant steps climbing the hills. These terraces held soil in place, kept water flowing evenly, and made the mountains bloom with green. From above, they looked like stairways to the sky. To bring water, they built aqueducts and canals, carrying streams across valleys and into fields. Some of these still work today, carrying water after centuries. And their stones, oh, their stones! The Incas cut and shaped giant blocks with such precision that they fit together without mortar, like puzzle pieces. You could not slip even a knife blade between them. That is why, even when earthquakes shook the Andes, Inca walls stood strong while newer buildings crumbled. Imagine walking through Cusco then. Narrow streets lined with polished stones, each one carved to hug the next, each one whispering, "We will last." As Cusco grew, so did the ambitions of its rulers. They began to send armies and emissaries out into neighboring valleys. Sometimes they fought, sometimes they made alliances, sometimes they offered gifts. One by one, kingdoms and tribes were brought under Inca rule. Some resisted fiercely, others joined willingly, seeing the benefits of shared food, safety, and roads. Ah yes, the roads. The Inca Empire stretched over 2,500 miles, longer than the entire Roman Empire. And to hold it together, the Incas built an astonishing network of roads, bridges, and paths. There were stone highways that cut across deserts, suspension bridges woven from grass that swung above roaring rivers, steep stairways that climbed sheer cliffs. Altogether, these paths stretched for over 25,000 miles. Along these roads ran the chasquis, young swift messengers. They carried messages knotted into quipus, colorful strings tied with special knots that held numbers and information. The chasquis passed messages from one to the next, so that news could travel faster than a bird across the empire. If the Sapa Inca, the emperor, in Cusco wanted fresh fish from the coast, it could be carried to him within 2 days. Imagine, fish from the ocean served in the mountains, still fresh thanks to roads and runners. Now, let's pause. Empires are not only about kings and roads. They are also about everyday life. Most Inca people were farmers. They rose with the sun, worked in the fields, and gave part of their harvest to the state. In return, the state gave them security and food during hard times. People wore simple clothes made of alpaca wool, dyed in bright reds, yellows, and blues. Nobles wore fine tunics, and the Sapa Inca himself dressed in garments so sacred that once he wore them, no one else could. They were burned to honor him. Food was simple but nourishing. Potatoes were a gift of the Andes. Maize was prized and used to make chicha, a kind of corn drink for festivals. People also dried potatoes into chuño, which could last for years, perfect for times of hunger. Festivals filled the year with music, dancing, and offerings to the gods. People believed the mountains, the rivers, the stars, all were alive, all were watching. To live was to give thanks. Far above the Urubamba River, hidden among the clouds, the Incas built one of their most breathtaking creations, Machu Picchu. We do not know exactly why it was built. Some say it was a royal retreat, others a religious sanctuary, others a fortress. But what we do know is this: it is a city that seems to grow out of the mountain itself. Terraces step down its slopes, temples rise from its heart. The Temple of the Sun curves to match the rocks around it. Stone windows frame the sunrise on special days of the year, marking solstices. And the stones, again, those perfect stones, some weigh many tons, yet were moved and set without wheels or steel. For centuries, Machu Picchu lay hidden from the outside world, wrapped in mist, guarded by jungle. Only in 1911 did outsiders rediscover it, though local farmers had always known of it. Today it stands as a jewel of Inca genius. whispering secrets to anyone who walks its quiet paths. At the heart of the empire was the Sapa Inca, the emperor. He was seen as the child of the sun, a living god. He wore a headdress of golden feathers. He sat on a golden throne. Wherever he went, people bowed low, for to look into his eyes without permission was forbidden. But the Inca ruler was not only a figure of awe. He had enormous responsibilities. He decided when armies marched, when fields were planted, when roads were built. His word was a law across mountains, deserts, and jungles. Below him were nobles, priests, and generals, then administrators and record keepers who used quipus to count crops and people. And below them, the farmers, craftsmen, and laborers, the true backbone of the empire. It was a pyramid of power, but all connected, like the terraces on a hillside, each supporting the other. For hundreds of years, the Inca Empire grew and thrived. By the early 1500s, it stretched from modern-day Colombia down to Chile, across Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Argentina. Millions of people lived within its borders. But far away, across an ocean, changes were stirring. Spain had discovered the Americas, and conquistadors were arriving with steel guns and horses. In 1532, a band of Spaniards led by Francisco Pizarro entered Inca lands. They were few in numbers, less than 200 men, but they carried weapons the Incas had never seen before. They also brought diseases like smallpox, which had already weakened the empire before the Spaniards even arrived. Worse still, the Incas were divided. Two brothers, Atahualpa and Huáscar, had fought a brutal civil war for the throne. The people were exhausted, the empire fragile. At Cajamarca, the Spaniards met Atahualpa. Though the Inca had thousands of warriors, he was captured in a daring ambush. The Spaniards demanded a ransom of gold and silver, more wealth than the world had ever seen in one room. The Incas filled it, floor to ceiling, wall to wall. But after receiving it, the Spaniards killed Atahualpa anyway. It was the beginning of the end. The fall of the Inca Empire was not sudden. For years, resistance flickered in valleys and mountains. Brave leaders like Manco Inca fought on, retreating to remote fortresses like Vilcabamba. But little by little, Spanish rule spread. The temples were stripped of gold. The quipus were cut and forgotten. The roads carried new masters. And yet the spirit of the Inca never vanished. The terraces still grow crops. The aqueducts still carry water. The stones of Cusco still stand. And the people, the descendants of the Incas, still live in Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, and beyond, speaking Quechua, carrying traditions, singing songs that echo through the Andes. The empire fell, yes, but the memory lives. Today, travelers from across the world climb to Machu Picchu and feel awe. Historians study the quipus, trying to untie their secrets. Farmers still plant potatoes on terraces first carved by Inca hands. And when the sun rises over Cusco, golden light still touches the stones, as if Inti himself never left. The Inca story teaches us about resilience, creativity, and respect for the land. It reminds us that people with no wheels, no steel, no horses could build wonders that outlast empires. It is a story of beginnings and endings, of myths and mountains, of roads without end and terraces without limit. Now, as you lie in your bed, imagine the Andes at night. The stars are sharp above. The rivers murmur below, and somewhere, perhaps the stones of Machu Picchu glow faintly in the moonlight. Breathe slowly, as the Incas did in their valleys. Feel the rhythm of terraces, step by step, rising to the sky. Hear the echo of chasqui footsteps fading into the distance. The empire has passed into history, but its spirit rests in the mountains, cradling you as you drift to sleep. Rest well, traveler of time, for the Incas and the Andes are watching over you.